Care2 has the privilege of working with many charities in the UK, in the US. We have had probably over about the last 10 years over 1,000 sort of non-profit clients. We work really closely with agencies, with consultants, and everyone who's kind of working in this world. And really with that, we've kind of been able to kind of develop a bit of a research and development wing. And what I've kind of collated here today are 5 things that are sort of happening now that are meant to be kind of quite provocative. They're kind of high-level things to provoke some thought. They are definitely kind of warrant discussion back, and hopefully we can discuss some of these things here today. But these are the products of conversations that we've had with clients and, like I said, with agencies, with other leaders in the sector. And we're just in a kind of unique position to kind of be having these conversations, I suppose. So yeah, they're meant to be provocative, and they are meant to hopefully be kind of to stimulate thought for the next couple of days. So before I kind of get into those, I thought just to be helpful just to kind of sum up, you know, what we all kind of have in common. You know, what we're all looking to kind of find new supporters. We're all looking to really kind of cut through and cut through the kind of clutter out there, to kind of create impact and change and really kind of innovate as we sort of go on. And I think that's certainly something that I've seen with clients, and that we've all got this kind of holy grail. That's what we're constantly kind of in search for, of trying to you know, find new supporters efficiently, cost effectively, new ways to create change, and kind of get those super activists, people that are going to, you know, be your kind of high volunteer or go on to be a donor or a volunteer. So that's kind of the sort of the framework here for these kind of ideas. So 5 things. So this is saying you work in digital is like saying you work in physical. The idea behind this is because, well, first of all, digital is an adjective. And really digital, you know, needs to permeate everywhere. Really what this slide said, I actually changed it. The slide before said scrap digital teams completely, but then I changed it to this because Matt Collins, who is a consultant who I had this conversation with, this was his quote, and I thought it was brilliant, so I wanted to put it up there. But really, this is about really deeply looking, and this isn't a new idea, lots of people have done a lot of studies in this, of the role of digital in not-for-profits and an organisation's place. Jason Mogus, who is the founder of Web of Change Conference, and he has his own PR firm, Communicopia, has done a lot of study in this, and sort of he's interviewed loads of different charities over the last 2 years. You can go onto their website and find the material. We work very closely with them as well. But he's kind of really, the idea here is that most digital departments or people are siloed off from the rest of their organisation. They're siloed off from the strategic vision of those organisations. And for us to really be making meaningful impact, there's got to be a way of connecting these. So these 3 modules, which I think he's kind of pioneered these. The top one at the left, the informal model, that's very old-fashioned. I mean, 5 years ago, the orange dot there is someone who had the digital expertise in an organisation that was working really inefficiently, and everyone was going to them to help them for advice. I think some organisations do have that, but more common is the centralised view, where you have a digital department and lots of other different departments below feeding into that. And then the independent view, which is where you have different departments, and then you have a digital role within them. So I think most commonly the kind of mix is between centralised and independent. The problem with both of those examples is that not one in terms of the strategic goal of where the organisation is going, and the people in the departments, they're not talking to each other. So this model here, this hybrid model, which is what he's come up with, which is the kind of the most progressive solution for not-for-profits to aim for, is to have individual staffers in each different department, if it's campaigns, fundraising, communications, then also being supported by a strategic digital department that is aiming towards the strategic visions of the organisation, and these 2 channels kind of talking back and forth with each other. That's certainly, the most desirable. Not a lot of charities have that set up, but I think it's, for the purpose of today and this kind of session, it's good stuff. Like, think about, how your organisation uses digital. Think about how siloed is digital in your organisation, and what can be done to sort of overcome it. And follow Jason Mogus and what he's sort of said about it, because it's really interesting. So that's, and this quote here, I had to put this here. So Andy Grove, he was the CEO of Intel, and he's retired now. And this quote here, in the future, all companies will be internet companies or they won't be businesses anymore. This quote's from 2000, that's 13 years ago. And so that's kind of very true, but we're not actually embracing this still 13 years later, certainly in the not-for-profit world. And I think that it's just wanted to kind of put that up there to illustrate the point. So, number 2, again, meant to be provocative. So the ladder of engagement, the pyramid of engagement, we all have overused this term, we all use it. And certainly what I mean by this is not to abandon, obviously, the user journey or the supporter journey. What I'm challenging here is this use of the simplicity of the ladder itself, this pyramid of getting people in and gently nudging them up to take actions. Well, unfortunately, life's a bit more messy than that in reality. We need to kind of be a bit more sort of sophisticated about this. So this image here, the point of this image isn't just to show 2 campaigners, one young and one old. The point of this image is to show 2 campaigners in 2 different stages in their lives. This person, they are willing to be communicated at different points in their lives. This person is campaigning about immigration, this person is campaigning about safety in her borough in Harrow in London. But these are 2 different campaigners, but they've each gone on their own journey and they want to be connected at different points. Their lives are messy. At the end of the day, as much as we'd love to think it, charities are not at the centre of your supporters' lives, which you're just not. Your life is at the centre of your life. So we need to be able to really kind of make sure we can create ways of communicating with them. Now, this is an idea, but instead of the ladder of engagement, what about an idea of like the double helix of engagement, if you like? It sounds really messy, it's not exactly catchy, but the point is that this line where the stars are, where this person is, these are all the different times that someone can be engaged throughout their life, and the big stars is where they may become a super activist or a donor, but you've got all the different strands in between and the different pathways you need to connect to these people. So it's about developing more pathways, about developing more communication strands. I suppose to simplify it, how do we make best sort of use of these supporters to bring them into our orbit all of the time? People come in and out. They'll be drifting in and out throughout the kind of life cycle of a campaign. And whatever stage they're in, they're going to come in and life takes over. So it's how do we make use of doing that? It's kind of abandoning the kind of cookie cutter approach, if you like. So this is an idea. This is an idea that I came up with in conjunction with one of Care2's vice presidents, Clint O'Brien. And we talked about this at length for about sort of 2 hours. And it might not work. It's see what you think. It's a theory. And just to sort of bring that to life a bit more, this is an email from the Labour Party. This email actually got highlighted on the ECF list a few months ago. I've spoke to the Labour Party before I came here to ask permission if we could show some of this stuff, and they're really happy for us to do so. But this is just a way of kind of, it's got a great subject line. They said girls' brains were smaller. But it's just a really low barrier. Why are you Labour? Ask why you're Labour. Kind of begin to start asking people. They've got a general election in 2015. They're starting their comms, trying to get to know who they are and try and create these different kind of pathways. And I just wanted to kind of highlight that because I think it's a good example. So it kind of neatly segues me into this idea of kind of social proof. Again, this isn't new. It's not this isn't something that is brand new at all, but it's certainly happening a lot at the moment, certainly with Care2 clients. So again, I'm going to the Labour Party. You may have noticed, I don't know if any of you follow the Labour Party in the UK, but they're doing this a lot at the moment. This is all kind of social proof, getting out there. They're highlighting their supporters on their national Facebook page, which for the Labour Party is actually quite a big deal for them to get that through, which may not be for others, but it really is. Having this out there, but this isn't just about making the supporters feel special and making them feel great. This is about trying to get other supporters by saying, look, people like you, there's people like you that are Labour out there, and so it's making other people sign to, feel okay to be a supporter, even if they're not particularly political. You know, this is a really kind of strong thing that's working for them at the moment, and sort of gently kind of creating other pathways for people to connect. I'm sure you'll hear from them all at the end of next year when they're actually finishing the campaign. Again, this is their Tumblr, you know, just more kind of images here. You know, they're collecting social proof all about their supporters, and they're doing this very deliberately and very targetedly. This is just a quick example of Planned Parenthood, another client of Care2's in the US. I'm sure, I don't know, for those of you who don't know who Planned Parenthood is, they are, some would say, a controversial organisation. They're not. They're a supporter of women's rights and the right to, obviously, you know, have abortions. And they had got right in the media for the recent government shutdown. And again, just using social proof, and they had extremely strong results with these and actually managed to change policy. So the fourth thing I wanted to kind of talk about was obviously email. Before I go on to this next slide, I need to put a big caveat that certainly our clients in Care2 and everyone here, email is still very much king, but a challenging one these days. And it's still the most powerful tool in terms of, you know, connecting to your sort of wide supporter base. But there are unfortunately some sobering trends with email, which I think is interesting to look at. These statistics are from a recent e-benchmark report. So 21% drop in response rates, 8% drop on advocacy emails. There's a lot to do with why that is. That's to do with, you know, providers like Gmail, Hotmail, you know, they're kind of cracking down on bulk email and so forth. But even more alarmingly, you know, that's a real statistic. 86% of email still remains unopened. So while it is still king and the most powerful tool of communicating with people, it is even more cluttered than it has ever been right now. You know, and certainly in terms of things we've already talked about, you know, subject lines, share of, you know, there's all different charities out there, everything that's happening. This is something we've got to kind of crack, if you like. So, how do we get around this? You know, so certainly a good place to start is to focus on things like permission-based email growth using people like Care2, but I'm not here to sort of really talk about that, but that is, you know, it's a very kind of good place to start. But then using this idea of leveraging social with your kind of core email list. I mean, we've worked with an agency in the States called Attentively. There are other ones such as Action Sprout out there, and, you know, they're not their own ones, but this is about finding your super activists by starting with your kind of new warm email list, and then really kind of targeting them, and it's really interesting. So yeah, starting with the email and then amplifying it to social, but I'm going to try and show you kind of how it works. So you start with your high known value users, i.e. your opt-in email list users, and then you use a tool, in this case who we work with on behalf of our clients Attentively, to target and identify those influencers on social media who have the highest Facebook likes, the best clout score, and then start sort of targeting this specific group of people. So we work with OneSky. OneSky doesn't actually exist anymore. They've merged now to their 350.org. But we worked with them, Care2 worked with them to recruit 10,000 activists. They then appended the social media data using the tools Attentively, and like I said, there's other ones out there. Then they basically targeted out of the 10,000 activists, they targeted the 3,000 most connected people on social with an email campaign. And then they were seeing average open rates of 36%, click-to-open rates of 36%, and conversion rates of 13%. So the principle behind it's not new. Obviously, it's the most engaged audience, but it's a kind of an interesting way of using both of the tools together, and where you're kind of starting with. And then this is just a quote I got from them. The subsequent ask to the kind of the new socially connected people, these 3,000 people, yielded the highest response rate, and that was to recruit the highest ask. The toughest ask was to recruit offline volunteers. So I think it's just something interesting to talk about, is this using social with email. We're seeing a lot of clients do it, more in the US than the UK at the moment. But I'd be interested definitely to hear if you guys are doing it and how it's working for you. And it's something that's, you know, worth thinking about. And this is the petition we did, and that was the results there. I've read my presentation. How does this... I've missed a whole section. Okay. Sorry. I just think it's just... just go through this. I think I'm just hitting it too quickly. Here we go. And these are other case studies that we've worked with: Greenpeace, One, SEIU, Mums Rising, and these are people that are Care2 clients, but also working with this social media agency. And this is what these clients are saying to us. It opens up a new realm of possibilities for online advocacy. It's a tool that you'd recommend, and for them, for SEIU in the US, it's changing the way that they're currently doing advocacy. So it's food for thought. You may already be doing this, certainly, but I definitely think it's an interesting kind of progression that we're beginning to see. Have I gone through? Yeah, I have. That is my next point. So this is really provocative. And this is something that I just wanted to kind of put out there, and I kind of leave you with this on this one as a bit of a thought. As an example, Walmart, and they're rightly so, criticised for their horrific labour policies, and they're probably quite evil. Let's agree with that. But I don't know if any of you know this, that there was a big campaign in the US to stop dairy farmers using growth hormones for cows in their milk. There was a huge campaign in the US about this. There was campaigners everywhere. They were targeting all sorts of different dairy factories. But what happened was just one day, and overnight, Walmart decided they agree, they just decided, and they're not going to buy from these dairy suppliers anymore. And literally overnight, that campaign was won, just for the sheer might and power of Walmart because of their buying power. So it's a kind of a bit of a sticky thing to think about, but it's something that I think is interesting to talk about, how big for-profits can be of use in certain winning campaigns. I was talking to Glyn last night on the train about this, and we were thinking about other examples, such as fair trade, chocolate, and where did that start from? Is it Nestle, or Cadbury or other things? This is just meant to kind of provoke thought over the next 2 days, and I'm sort of leaving you with this. It's a bit of an awkward thing to think about, I suppose, but I think it's really interesting. And that's it. Thank you.